Welcome to Franchise Focus. I'm Laura Blackmore, your host, and a franchise consultant with over a decade experience in franchising. Franchising isn't one size fits all, and this podcast helps focus on what truly matters. Each week, we pull back the curtain with top industry experts, whether you're exploring your first franchise or expanding your portfolio. Let's dive in. Welcome to Franchise Focus. Today, I'm excited to welcome Sarah Giampiccolo, Director of Franchise Development, Oliver's Nannies. Sarah was the very first employee at the company back in 2018 and played a key role in building their flagship location and leading the charge to bring this unique in-home childcare model to families across the country through franchising. She knows this business inside and out and brings a real passion for helping both children and entrepreneurs thrive. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you for that wonderful introduction.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh, I'm excited to have you. We'd love to. We're just going to dive into the model and you can share with everyone kind of the unique features about it. Maybe if we could start off with understanding Oliver's, the whole business model and how it evolved from the inception, et cetera.
Yeah, wonderful. Oliver's Nannies started out of need. So our founder, Kathy Livingston, she now has 3 kids, but back in the day in 2018, her oldest was about 6 months and she actually was a franchisee in another system. So she was very involved, very much full-time in that business and was going through trying to find childcare for herself. She couldn't find daycares that didn't have a wait list, which is very common. And so kind of put on that entrepreneur hat and said, you can get vetted quality care for an aging loved one that's fully managed by staff in the blink of an eye. Why does that not exist in the childcare space? And so now here we are. I think that it's a wonderful model. As a new parent, I see it through a lens completely differently. You know, as you mentioned, Laura, I've been with the brand since we started and truly thought I knew everything about it. And then you become a parent and it's a completely different lens.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on your baby.
Thank you.
I love when these things do evolve from out of complete need. When you think about the core values and the mission, what would you say that it is for Oliver's Nannies?
Yeah, our mission is to provide a solution, an accessible, flexible solution to families. You know, our core values here at the franchisor level, you know, the culture that we're looking to build is professional. We want to provide childcare in a professional manner. Yes, we're in a childcare space, but we don't want it to be a childish approach. Professional, managed, but also, you know, supportive, inclusive, fun, family oriented. Those are really the words that come to mind when I think about the culture. And then through the mission, we're providing, again, accessible, flexible solutions. We have different services that can really be a fit for every family based on what it is they're looking for. We have our nanny services, which are your traditional, consistent care. Full-time or part-time does not need to be your 9 to 5, can be after school, could be 2 or 3 days a week, but consistency. And then we have what's called our Flex Care program. And this is really great, Laura, for families that are in school, are in daycare. You know, maybe grandma and grandpa watches them on a regular basis, whatever it may be. Life happens. I think, you know, everybody watching this has experienced, you know, those life moments. And as a parent, it's not just, okay, now how do I kind of refocus? What do I now do with my child that's sick and can't go to school, but I have a full day of meetings? Call Oliver's Nannies. So again, accessible and flexible to meet every single family, parent's solutions needs.
In terms of what is different about Oliver's Nannies, like why does a new parent come to that versus the online portals, or what about your process? How do you match? Things like that.
One of my favorite questions because I've been there, I've done it. So what makes Oliver's Nannies different from a family perspective? There's so many things. You are getting fully managed care and care provided by W-2 employees. So the few competitors that we have, again, one of the really great benefits about this is that there's low market saturation. We are one of the only brands that has W-2 employees. Some other competitors do have 1099s, but we W-2 them. So we have insurance on the nannies and on the care. So families are taken care of. So let's just start big picture there. But then when you break it down, again, it's fully managed. So what does that mean to you as a parent? That means that your nanny is getting checked in with. So we're providing satisfaction of their jobs through, you know, making what historically doesn't necessarily have a professional lens of a nanny position. We're making it a much more professional position with which the nannies are extremely receptive to. So we're checking in with the nannies. we create care plans for every family so that every single nanny that walks into your home knows your baby gets a bottle at this time, this time. This is how you put him down for a nap. Every detail and intricacy of your home is in that care plan. You have access to a care team that is going to be there for you. We answer our phones, which just seems like such a common concept, but we found that it's truly one of the things that sets us apart. We provide fill-in care. We, again, can provide flexibility. The list goes on and on. What is most exciting in one of our latest additions is we have a proprietary matching process. So if you were to call in, we're matching families and nannies based on this proprietary matching process that really focuses in on a nanny's care approach style. And how does that match with what the family is looking for? What's so exciting is that this is now trademark pending. We are the only brand on the market that has a trademark pending matching process.
Oh, wow.
So it really, really gives us the ability to match a family and a nanny to the best of our ability.
Okay, no, that's amazing. And I think of so many times where something like this would have been amazing. And is it how does your pricing compare to the industry? Can you stay competitive, et cetera?
Yeah. So one of the first things that a franchisee is going to do once they've signed, and I'm sure we'll talk about support here down the road, but they're going to be working with their business consultant. And one of their first pieces of homework, we like to say, is they're going to do a competitive analysis. So they're going to check in their market. What is it, paying, and what does it cost a family if they're going to be hiring off the books, going with another agency, going to a daycare. And then the very first day of their new owner training, we're going to help them set their bill rates and their pay rates so that they are competitive within their market, and also so that they have what we consider a healthy and the ability to be successful in terms of setting their gross profit margin based on their pay rates and their bill rates from the start. There's absolutely an ability to be competitive in a market. We don't have flat company-wide pricing because our flagship location, which is outside of New York City, their prices are different than our location in Boise, Idaho. Sure. But they're all competitive within their market.
Okay. And so when a franchisee signs, what are some of their initial activities, how they market, how you find customers, I guess is a big one.
So once they sign, they are assigned a business consultant. So our director of operations, Melanie Hadley Franklin, first, she comes to us with over 27 years in franchising in the operations side of things. So tons of franchise experience at our helm from our leadership team. So they're getting a startup checklist, which has everything that they need to do from signing to opening. And when do they need to do it? They're having twice a week calls with Melanie or somebody on her team to make sure that we're going through it at the correct pace, making sure that we're checking everything off. Some of the early items that they're going to be doing are things like creating their entity, their DBA, getting their insurances, and that competitive analysis. And again, they're going to be walking through kind of the business setup portion of it with Melanie. As they get closer to coming to new owner training, they're going to start finding their office, things of that nature. And then after new owner training, that's when you're going to start your hiring. That's when you're going to hire your office employee. You're going to start to hire your nannies. In terms of marketing, we have two main approaches. So a very large web-based presence is what we have found to be most successful. So a Google pay-per-click campaign, and then involvement in your local Facebook parent groups. Does not have to be done by the owner. It could be your office employee, but getting involved in those community groups through Facebook. Again, a Google pay-per-click campaign as well. From the franchisor side of things, we're going to provide their customized website. We're going to help them with their Google business listing. We're also going to be maintaining their social media. So they're going to have their own Facebook because, again, we're really going to try to utilize this platform. But we're going to manage their social media so they can focus on running their business and not, oh gosh, what do I need to do to keep my Facebook, active? What do I need to put up there? So we're doing all of that for them. And then there is a large blueprint, boots on the ground marketing approach that they will facilitate as well. Melanie's going to help them create their marketing plan. So that's things like going to introduce yourself at pediatricians, OBGYNs, swim schools, your local child-facing businesses, and working, referral networks, the old ways, shaking hands and kissing babies and just making a name for yourself and your community.
What's that ramp up process typically like? And especially in terms of that networking side, when are people seeing results from that, and how long does it typically take to get started?
We have seen, a very quick return. And then, we have seen franchisees are taking the model and implementing the model as, we are recommending them to do so. We have franchisees that are getting calls and having a presence in the community pretty quickly. Again, we're going to work with you on the timing and what does that look like? When are we setting your Google business listing up? When are we launching your pay-per-click campaign? Because we're seeing that launching it prior to an official grand opening starts to get the presence and the awareness through Google as well.
Right. So in that perspective, who is the ideal franchise owner?
This is a great question because there's a why answer. Somebody who has an HR background and building teams would be a great fit. Somebody who's a parent looking to get back into a professional work setting, great fit. Somebody who's looking to make their corporate exit, also a wonderful fit. We really have taken it and boiled it down into what we consider our 3 profiles, but again, a wide range within those. So our first profile is what we call the parent. It makes sense. You're living the world. Like you're in the world and where your families and your clients will be serviced.
Yeah.
You get it. You've lived it. You're in that world. So the parent, that is a, pretty easily accessible franchisee. The professional is our second profile. This is somebody, again, looking for that corporate exit, doesn't, really want to be working for somebody else, wants to work for themselves. Somebody looking to build that legacy, have something to leave and to build on their own. And then our investor is our third. So this is, somebody that is more of a semi-passive owner. Usually we'll be looking at multiple territories, really looking to perhaps stay with a position that they're already in, but looking to, have a return on investment and, have an investment opportunity available for them.
And do you have franchisees signing up that way? So you do allow for the investor model?
Yeah. We do. We do need them to be involved at least in a semi-passive manner. So they do need to have daily communication with a executive director or a manager on site. It's not going to be somebody that's going to buy 5, 6 territories and then not really have any idea of what's going on in them. Right. It does need to be somebody that has the ability to still work on that business and have knowledge of what's going on a day-to-day basis. They're going to be the ones driving their team, overseeing the business strategy, things of that nature.
What kind of safeguards do you have for families trying to undercut and go directly to the babysitter, the nanny, once they find someone that really gels with them?
Sure. Yeah. So we have a large financial penalty in the agreement. So we provide for all of our franchisees all of the paperwork that they're going to need. So from a nanny facing, from clients, all of that. So we have an agreement in place. And one of those is a term on restricting, the buying out per se, and the solicitation of the nannies. So there is a large financial penalty. It really has not been a barrier, or a hurdle per se for what we have seen in the 7 years that we've been in business at the flagship location. We did actually execute the term, that clause in the agreement 3 times, but mutually agreed upon. So the nanny had been with us for a while, the family had been with us for a while, and it was, one of those things that mutually just made the most sense. So again, it was never out of penalty. It was something that, upon mutual discussion and agreement, did make the most sense for every single party involved.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So in the overall investment to get in, if you're, I guess, one territory versus multiple?
Yep. In our item 7, our startup investment is $69,800 to $115,000, and that has a $47,500 franchise fee, and includes the $20,000 to $30,000 for your first 3 months. So overall, it is a low startup. And then you have low fixed expenses as well.
In terms of the recruiting the nannies, where do you have most success there?
Yep. So franchisees are going to get tons of training. 10 hours out of our 36 at new owner training is solely focused on recruitment. As it relates to nanny recruitment, we're finding a lot through job boards and things like Indeed. And for franchisees, we are providing everything to them to help them be successful in recruiting, from sample job ads. During new owner training, we're going to, give guidance as to when to post and where to post and how to post and all of that. And then they're also going to get the recruitment tools. So our interviews, our phone screen questions, our orientation packets. So they're really not having to recreate the wheel. They're going to take what we have found successful over the past 7 years, and they're going to use that and implement it and really, again, benefit from, our learnings.
So we talked a lot about in a roundabout way about the support services. Any other support services that you want to highlight in terms
Yeah,
of?
I think that's one of the things that we are most proud of. We're proud of a lot of things here, but I think one of the things that really sets Oliver's Nannies franchise opportunity apart is we are an emerging brand, but we're an emerging brand and we have over 50 years of franchise experience in our leadership team. Kathy Livingston, our founder, she has been in franchising since she graduated college, primarily all on the ops side as a franchise business consultant. She was also a franchisee for 16 years in a very successful system. And then Melanie Hadley Franklin, who was our director of operations, was a business consultant for over 27 years. So our support is truly something that we are very intentional, very proud of. We have a intentionally slower growth trajectory so that we can continue to provide this level of extensive hands-on support. So what does that look like? It is a 36-hour new owner training. It is a 4-day on-site with your business consultant grand opening, where you're going to go over everything in your office, recruiting, care management. You're going to go out and market together. When you sign, it's twice a week calls, again, with your franchise business consultant, going through your startup checklist that we're providing. We have an operations manual. We do webinars. We do trainings, ongoing visits as needed. We have town halls. We are working with a lot of different vendors as well and have different partnerships so that we can provide the best level of support and partnerships to our franchisees. So payroll, print services, accounting services. We have our partnership with the team that runs Google Business Listings. So always looking to find ways to continue to support our current franchisees and our new ones.
How many locations are you up to now?
We have 17. 9 of them are open, and 8 are coming soon. One of those is opening in just a couple of weeks. We have a couple that are coming up in the next few months here.
And what is the licensing process? Is it very different each state, or?
It's one of the best things, Laura. So if you want to look at it, senior care business, you need to go Department of Health, you need licensing, you need all of those things. The way that we're doing things here, we're actually a staffing agency. So we're not considered a childcare agency. Okay. So there's not really a ton of licensing or anything that you need to get. Now, I'm going to very much caveat that with you need to check with your state. However, we are in New Jersey, New York, Idaho, Colorado, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, Pennsylvania. I don't think I'm forgetting any states there. The only state in which a license was needed so far is in New Jersey. And it's a temporary staffing license. So it is not this big hurdle. It is a 1-page, once-a-year application that is pretty seamless to get. And that's really the only place where we found any kind of licensing or, regulatory practices.
Is the scaling pretty direct? Like if you just market more, you will scale more? Is that what you found in your flagship?
Yes, I wouldn't necessarily. Yes, obviously the more that you market, the more that your brand is going to have an awareness in your market. And it's really just continuing to penetrate those markets. So, sponsoring teams or sponsoring a school event or things like that. So I would say it's a variance of how am I marketing? How am I getting my name out there? And then continuing to scale. As you also start growing, referrals and word of mouth are huge, especially, as a parent, if somebody's like, oh, I've used this service, highly recommend, that word of mouth referral is going to really be important as well. So I think, just getting in your market and starting to really penetrate that is also going to, be a really great scalable.
Do you have some stats in your founder location, the length of time or how many people are renewing each year, or I don't know, the average length of time that a customer stays with you?
So I don't have specific statistics on that. Reason being is because going back to the beginning where I talked about, we have our nanny services, but then we also have our flex care. Right. So they are 2 different services. So it's a little bit hard because you can have a flex care family, and we had it back in the day when I was there, that came into town for whatever reason and only used us that one time that they were in town. Right. So statistically, it's a little bit hard to get that. But what I can say is, again, I've been with the brand since 2018 when we started, and I know for a fact that the flagship location has a handful of the clients that I've signed on from when I was there, and I have not been working out of that office for almost 3 years now. So there is absolutely longevity. I think it's different than some other industries because families are looking for, especially if they have young children, they're looking for somebody to build and to grow within their family.
Is there specific goals that you guys have in terms of how many locations you want to have in the near future and any other additional services you're thinking about? Or
Yeah, that's wonderful. I mean, obviously the goal is always growth. Again, we want to do it in a very professional and intentional pattern because the support that we provide. So we are at 17 locations so far. We would like to, in the totality of 2025, our goal was to have at least 20 more locations through the year. And we are on track for that. Like I said, so far, just this quarter, again, we are able to say that we're sticking on track with that. I'd have to do some really quick math to figure out how many that we've gotten this year because full transparency, I came back from maternity leave kind of early in the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
But we are, doing really well with our goal. Obviously, would love to exceed over the course of this year. But again, doing it in a way that allows us to continue to provide the support for our franchisees because that is something that is so important so that we can, again, aid as much as possible in their success.
Do the franchisees also, we talked about some of the grassroots, do they go into local businesses too and try to network there?
Yeah. So going to, local pediatricians, OBGYNs, going
like corporate clients, like bigger corporations that have working moms.
Yeah. So that's actually one of our locations is piloting a program with an employee assistance program. So through employee benefits. Your target is really more of the community based. So not really penetrating into these big corporations. Ultimately, yes, that is something that we'd like to look at, getting more involved with these employee benefit programs and things like that. But really just trying to make it on a more local community family referral.
Okay, great. Any other unique marketing that you do that you can think of that or people are trying to experiment with? I would imagine, like you said, Facebook works well.
Facebook is, really.
And you create that and you manage that, but the local employee or someone is responding to it, or what? How are they?
So Facebook is attacked in two different ways. So from a brand perspective, we are creating Oliver's Nannies of the location. And so they have their professional page that's set up, and then we are putting out the content to that from a franchisor level. The owner or somebody on their team also has access so that they can share a local event or something that they went through. And then from a local level, owners or somebody on their team are going to want to join some of the local Facebook groups and look to, respond to comments in those local parent groups. If somebody's saying, hey, where do I find childcare? You can respond and then get to some different networking that way as well. Some other marketing things that we have found successful, again, sponsoring your local soccer team or t-ball team or something like that. We've started to see a good success through attending street fairs and, things like that. We had our Boise location went to a 3-day fair called Potato Days. Our Melbourne location they have a fall street fair and they sponsored the face painting table, sponsoring a table at opening day of, again, your town's soccer league. You have an abundance of children in a small area.
Right. No, very good point. Anything else that you want to go over in terms of perspective, people that want to get out of it, want to own their own business, and why this would be something they should consider and look at?
Oh my goodness. I feel like I could talk for a while on that, but I think, some of the really big things, Laura, this is a really great opportunity for somebody either looking to make an immediate corporate exit or somebody looking to invest in something that can ultimately lead to their corporate exit. I think our franchisees that we have right now have backgrounds from, corporate real estate management to we have franchise business consultants, we have HR backgrounds, we have parents, we have franchisees who are fully dedicating their time to this brand, and we have some that are approaching this in a more semi-passive model. So the Oliver's Nannies opportunity really can be a great fit for such a wide variety of people, and it is a needed service. We were just looking up some statistics. There's a $98 billion market and waiting for people. There's 51% of Americans that live in what's called a childcare desert, which is where there's 3 children to every 1 licensed childcare spot. For a parent
Wow.
that's where you have these long wait lists. We've had one of our school districts had over 1,000 children on an after school wait list. So you have parents that need to work. I've seen reports that are showing that a lot of companies are requiring a more in-office presence. And so what are these families who used to be able to kind of work and do their child care and work from home and, care for their child? They're going to need care. And we have this solution that can really work for every family. So, somebody looking for something that's needed, that's recession proof, that also gives you the ability to give back to your community and do something that you feel good doing. Yeah. That is truly I can't tell you the amount of days where, you're speaking to a parent who is just stressed and doesn't know where to turn, and then you provide a solution and you can hear the stress fall off of their.
For sure. Oh my gosh. I was there. And when I finally got my kids out of that aftercare and put them in with a nanny, it was night and day, but it was still difficult because I had to find the replacements. And if I had a service like this, so stressful, but it was also night and day from, when they loved their nannies and they were happier. And, I felt bad for my oldest because she was in those aftercares a lot, when I finally had 2, it was like, oh, we got to do this. This is insane. This is really too much to juggle.
Yeah.
And life was so nice. I'd come home and their dinner was prepared. I'm like, it was incredible.
Exactly. And families, I remember, just one more quick story. One of the things that we do at all of our nannies is we do have shift minimums and weekly minimums. It's one of the ways that we have found boosts, longevity and reliability, and like they have a bit more of a buy-in. So we have the shift minimums. It's nothing egregious, but for a family that's like, hey, I just need an hour, that nanny isn't going to necessarily work long term. So one of the things that we've done is the shift minimums. And I remember I was speaking to a family and they're like, I don't know if I need this many hours per week. And I was like, okay, here's all of the things that a nanny can do: laundry, housework, you name it, the nanny can likely, help with it. And I remember when they ultimately, stopped services because dad retired early. I remember the mom saying, she's like, I remember back when we started, I didn't think that we would, need all this time. She's like, Sarah, we had days where our nanny would have to stay later because there was just so much to do. You don't realize it. And she's like, I can't tell you how amazing it was to end a work day and have it all taken care of. And then, again, not only, you've benefited from a nanny, but now imagine you didn't have to find that person. You didn't have to do their references.
It's so hard.
You didn't have to figure out what to do when she called out or just had a day off. That is all taken care of too. So all of the benefits that you're talking about and more is what, this opportunity provides. And from a family level, oh my goodness, they're so receptive and so excited about it. And from a franchisor level, our franchisees they're really excited about the opportunity to make a difference in a market that is booming. So from an investment level, there's no shortage of families needing care. I think, the statistics can really point to the need is there.
100% the need's there. I would imagine some families, people are going to question I can just do this on my own. Is there a good conversation the franchisee has to help them get to that path to see the value of, hey, maybe try us out?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. It's not uncommon. The question that I used to get a lot is, okay, why not go to care.com or something like that? And it goes back to, what we were just saying,
Other employees.
Absolutely, you can. We're going to take care of paying that person. We're going to have the insurance in place. So what is
That's
your
huge.
big sticking point? We train our franchisees to find out their needs and what is most important, because then we have a benefit that really can support what they're looking for, because every family has a different need. For me personally, it's making sure that I have a 6-month-old. So schedule is very important. So for me, my big thing was finding somebody that is going to maintain his schedule and help him grow. Whereas as he gets older, it might be more schedule management and making sure that the nanny is paid and done on the on the books and all those things. So franchisees are trained to pick out what their needs are and what is most important. And then we have the benefit and we can, sell with the benefit that makes the most sense to that family.
That's great. No, that's great. This has been really helpful. I'm, excited to share this with more people. Any other final thoughts that you have?
No, we're really excited. Like I've said, we're in 17 locations. We've been franchising for just over 2 years, and really looking forward to continuing to grow across the country and provide a much needed solution for so many families.
Definitely that. Well, thanks again, Sarah. It was so great to chat with you today.
Yes, thanks, Laura. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. That's a wrap for this episode of Franchise Focus. I hope you found today's conversation insightful and inspiring. If you're thinking about franchise ownership or want to learn more about the brands we discuss, connect with me on LinkedIn or visit my website at blackmorefranchiseconsulting.com or just leave a comment. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, like, comment, and share it with someone. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time on Franchise Focus.